You know that bougie auntie and uncle?
The ones that laugh real loud.
Ain't got no kids.
And always seem ready to turn up.
And throw down.
Simultaneously. In the name of Black queer excellence.
That's us. I'm Ollie.
I'm Lenah.
And this is Speak on That.
Say, you ain't gotta say too much. Hate when you say that I play too much. When I get too close, I'ma touch that subject. I can read your body. Enough said. Quit all that yapping. I need less talking, a little more action. Yeah. Now, girl, keep it G. No, you speak a little freak. I can hear it in your accent. Said, tell me, can you understand my language? If you're trying to ride, just stay in my lane. There's no other way to explain it in layman's. Fuck who you came with. It's not a lie that you've been saying, whoa, but I can tell by your body language. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Can we talk about it? You ain't gotta say too much. You ain't gotta say too much.
You ain't gotta say too much.
Language.
Okay.
Right? Right on theme, right?
Okay. What brought that song on? Did you have it stuck in your head or something?
Nope.
I love that song. That song is a vibe.
Someone suggested another song with a similar title, and I was like, I don't know that one, but I know this one. That was Body Language
by Kid
Body
Ink,
Language by Kid Ink.
And Usher and Tinashe's in that one too. Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Oh gosh, I love her.
Mm-hmm.
She's so good. Anyway, we are back. Another week.
Another speak on that.
And before we get started, how's your week been?
It's been actually very good. Yeah, how's yours?
Mine has also been very good.
That's good.
It's been good.
I like to hear that.
Yeah,
I love to hear it.
So do I. I know you've been gallivanting throughout the mountains.
I gallivanted for one day.
And
in the direction of mountains.
In the direction of mountains, yes. I was getting updates along the way, but I haven't gotten the full scoop, so I'm very excited to touch base on said mountain
Gallivant?
time. Gallivant,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
said Gallivant.
It was very pleasant.
I tried the Popeyes chicken sandwich.
How was it?
10 out of 10.
Yeah?
I'm going to tell you why. I was a 10 out of 10. Because the bun to ratio to mayo to pickle to chicken ratio was insane. Now, you could argue, though, like, oh, I've had better. But I would argue that have you had better in a drive-thru? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like,
Yeah,
I've had better in a restaurant, 1,000%. But I have not had better in a drive-thru.
Well, you can't compare fast food restaurant.
But this ain't no McChicken. You know, this is like...
Listen, the McChicken, I used to really like the McChicken. Like, I've never been a big McDonald's person, but when I was still going there, I was always getting the McChicken.
Yeah.
And then when I tasted, I haven't tried the Popeyes one, but I tried the Chick-fil-A. I'm sorry to all the girls and gays, but I tried the Chick-fil-A and it was so good.
Was it good?
So freaking... Oh, it was so good.
Oh, wow.
It was so good. The spicy one, oh my gosh, my mouth is even watering thinking about it.
I got the regular one from, or the classic they call it, from Popeyes, but I gotta go back and get the spicy one. So
I mean, no, get the spicy one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that one was, it was like, I was like, this is fucking like, fuck a McChicken.
Ooh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who even knows if a McChicken is chicken? But
it's literally, it's like chicken feet grinded up into a patty and then like cardboard lettuce and a bun made from like, I don't know, the soil and the dirt from the back mixed with the grease from their grease traps.
And then that's a vision.
The mayo is just Ronald McDonald's.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that.
That is a vision. Why don't we set up our episode?
Don't eat McDonald's,
today?
kids.
I am going to do a hard turn.
Oh, okay. Sharp right. Let's go.
And set up the episode for today. Today we are talking love languages, and we brought on a phenomenal expert on the topic. Why don't you take over this introduction?
Very special. Oh,
yes. Come on now.
We have invited a very, very special guest, very intelligent woman that we know, our sister, the blue ivy to our roomie and sir, Miss Clara Jaide.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I was wondering, I'm like, y'all taking a long time to get me on this podcast. I've seen all the other friends.
Wow, it's like you were not even available. Actually, that's not. You knew we would get you on.
You knew, and you knew we couldn't do this topic with anybody else.
Yeah.
But we are like very excited to have you and kind of talk through this topic with you. Clara, you are a phenomenal young woman. You are out here doing things for the community, by the community, with the community, in every aspect of the word. So to have you here with us is so exciting. A literal sister, by the way. A literal sister.
Oh, yeah. Blood sisters.
Yeah, not that Tyler Perry sisters. It's that.
I thought you were talking about a black woman. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that too.
I love it. This week we are talking through, we're going to talk through love languages. We are going to focus and hone in on the more relationship and friendship side of love languages, and obviously romantic and platonic in that sense. And we will save the lust language side of things for another episode. So today we're going to focus solely on the love languages. But before we go any further, Clara, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell the listeners who you are.
Yeah, well, my name is Clara Jaide. I'm a psych major, a content creator, and a dating and relationship blogger, and soon to be podcaster. Yeah, I've been blogging for, I want to say 12 years.
Oh,
damn.
Yeah, for a really long time.
Aren't you like 14?
She knew. I got to get my foot in that door right now.
Yeah, I've been kind of working in media and content creation, and now I'm kind of doing it for myself. So we're focusing on dating.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
I love it. So this is exactly the reason we have you on this topic in this episode specifically, because you're gonna teach us a few things. You're gonna, we're gonna learn a few things from you, which I'm so excited about. Should we just get into it, y'all? How do you feel?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So, Clara, do you first off want to walk us through love languages and what exactly they are?
Sure. So your love language is essentially how you give and receive love. There are 5 different ones. This is a concept that was created by a psychologist and author, Dr. Gary Coleman. And if you haven't read his book, The 5 Love Languages, Secret to Love That Lasts, you absolutely should. It tells you everything you need to know about romantic love languages, and there's some for kids as well. So the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, is one where basically saying good things to somebody. So like if you're someone that loves to hear good things about yourself, or kind of thinking beyond compliments and more like carefully selected phrases to like uplift and support and confirm your partner, that's words of affirmation. So like telling someone their like coffee is delicious. And acts of service is more like I made you coffee. So it's kind of doing things to make somebody's life easier. Whether it's, I kind of like to think of this one as being outside of chores, but a lot of people think of it as like helping them out around the house. And quality time is one of the other ones. That's kind of like, let's go get a coffee. So spending time together. It can mean a variety of things. It could be just like sitting in each other's presence, or it could be like having a really deep and fulfilling conversation. Physical touch is more like, let me hold you like a coffee. That one is more physical forms of affection.
I hold my coffee with both hands.
Dear God.
Just thought I'd mention that.
Oh my God, I can't.
So you should be with somebody who's a physical touch person.
See, okay, we'll get to that.
But yeah, that one is also beyond just like sexual touches. That can be any type of intimacy, holding hands, caresses, etc. And the last one is receiving gifts, and that one's more like, here's a coffee. So it sounds materialistic, but I promise most of the time it's not. And that's just people who like to receive like meaningful tokens of your appreciation.
Fascinating.
Very.
I love it. Now, out of those 5, is there typically one that is most common in people in general? And you even mentioned kids earlier, and I've just never even thought about love languages when it comes to kids. But in adults, is there one that's kind of more common?
I don't think so. Not that I have heard. Anyways, there are a lot of people say that like words of affirmation is like a really good one, because people
love to hear nice things about themselves.
To hear, yeah, exactly. And like in every form, if you want to break the ice with anybody, compliment them, right? So technically, I think a more general one, if you don't know where to go, instead of like going and grabbing somebody and hugging them, it probably just tell them your hair looks nice.
Interesting. Okay, so what was it like for you personally? What was it about love languages that made you want to get into the study of them, basically?
I can't really pinpoint when the first time I actually heard about love languages was, but our other sister is a psychologist, and she, I remember her mentioning it to me like when I was younger, and I was like having like issues in relationships, and I like couldn't understand, and like I'm just giving this guy everything, I'm doing everything for him, and she's like, is that how he wants to be loved? And I'm like, I don't know, actually.
You're like, that's how I'm loving him, and he should take it and be happy.
Exactly. So that's when I kind of started diving deeper into that, and kind of applying it to relationships. And I found that like every time that I did make it a point to fulfill one of somebody's love languages, they were like, I'm in love with you. And I'm like, oh. Really interesting.
Look, of course you are.
Of course.
Well, obviously, I'm fulfilling you in every way possible. But yeah, I started applying it to other aspects of my life, like my friendships and even my workplace relationships, and it seems to have pretty good results. So
I am so excited to get into this. This is so fascinating already. Oh my goodness. So Lenah and I spoke about love languages on a previous episode, and we were able through conversation to establish one another's. Lenah, do you want to talk about what your love language is?
Oh, I was going to talk about yours, but okay. So my love language is acts of service. I think is like my number one. Well, last time I took the test, it was number one, which yeah, it was up there. I don't think words of affirmation was very high because people lie a lot. But at the same time, I feel like when it comes to like platonic relationships and friendships, I guess words of affirmation, I think, is more like I accept that more from my friends than I do from like a romantic partner, because of past experience. I'm like, you're just saying that because you're trying to get some. And like, well, it's like my friends have no motive.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay, that makes sense. Clara, what's your love language?
So coming from a ethnic household,
just say black.
Acts of service.
Have you listened to the podcast? Or is this
I'm gonna say ethnic because I feel like this goes across the board for like anybody who's not white.
Just say white.
we're kind of taught that like doing things for people is how you show that you love them. Your parents are like, what do you mean I don't love you? Maybe I don't spend time with you, but I go to work every day because of you. Obviously, I love you, right? So yeah, so acts of service is my love language, but it's also tied with quality time. And then next is words of affirmation, then receiving gifts, and then physical touch is just 0 for me. Don't touch me.
I love it.
And
so
what
good.
are yours?
Mine,
What are yours?
Mine, words of affirmation is certainly up there. Just in the sense that I'm gonna combine the fact that I'm an English major on top of that.
Are you an English major?
Yeah.
Why didn't I know that?
What do you mean you didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
You have got to be kidding me right now, right?
No, I literally didn't know. And it's funny because last weekend I thought about there's a time where I was like, what did y'all go to school for?
Are you kidding me right now?
The conversation just went another direction, so I didn't actually ask. I didn't know that. I'm finding that out right now. Wow.
What? I've even said it on the podcast, so it's a good thing.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't. Go back with me?
Yes.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I think I brought it. And not the point. We'll talk about this off the mic.
Yeah, we will.
But no, words of affirmation for sure, just in the sense that I've always been one to believe that words carry a lot of weight. Words matter. Words transcend. In every way of the imagination, and not just romantic words, not just I love yous, or I think words can strengthen bonds and words can strengthen people. So reminding people of who they are is a huge part of relationship building as well. So you're a phenomenal person, or hey, just so you know, like you make me feel this way. You make me want to be better. I think that can really heighten somebody to fulfill the best potential of who they are as well, if that makes sense. My last one, I believe, is receiving gifts, and not just because it reads as materialistic, but more so because I think I'm no good at it myself. Like, I don't think...
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I'm a good gift giver, therefore I don't expect to receive gifts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
You know, but whereas, and then maybe this will kind of lead into the next question is, if words of affirmation is my top one, that's what I receive, but it's also what I give. Is that common for the one that you? Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. I always say that your love language is how you give and receive love. Usually, you will treat people how you want them to treat you, right? For the most part. So if you feel like words are what affirm you, it's what makes you feel good from your personal experience, you're probably going to project that onto somebody else, whether or not it may be true, right? But you're like, this makes me feel good. It must make you feel good, right? Yeah. It's funny that Lenah said that she feels like people lie when it comes to words of affirmation, but that's kind of why I always say that it's more than just compliments, and it's kind of carefully selected words that are very specific to a person, rather than just like, oh, your hair looks nice, because okay, like everybody has you can say anybody's hair looks nice unless they're bald, then their head looks nice. But like, it's not really something that's so specific. But if somebody says like, oh, Ellie, you're amazing with words, like you're gonna feel like this is specific to me. They are looking beyond my physical and like into my soul.
Oh, amen to that. That is the truth.
Okay, right, that makes sense. That's probably why I accept it more from friends, because like they just choose better. And again, because anyways, let me not get into that.
Yeah, romantic partners tend to kind of use the generic appearance based,
right?
Or like they're little, I
want to say like straight males,
specific to that.
Why I don't fuck with them.
Yeah.
Now. Okay. My second part to that very question is what you said, Clara, is like the way you give love is the way you tend to receive love. What about if you are on opposite ends of the spectrum with somebody? So let's say let's say specific to me. So I said my first love language is words of affirmation. My last I believe my last love language, sorry, is receiving gifts. If I'm in, close with somebody, getting to know somebody, maybe building a connection with somebody whose first love is receiving gifts, that is loud.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. The window's closed. The window is closed.
If somebody's first is receiving gifts, is like, and maybe I'm kind of answering this as I talk, but is there a part of me that's going to feel like I'm folding a little bit if I'm constantly out trying to think of gifts to buy for this person because that's what they need from me? Or is there a way for opposite ends of the spectrum to meet in the middle?
No, there's absolutely a way for opposite ends
Oh,
to meet, I think.
Okay.
I do think this is so I think it all kind of comes down to like character. So if you are willing to learn someone's love language and understand that maybe they may struggle with your love language and you may struggle with theirs, to kind of help each other through that. Because again, receiving gifts doesn't always have to be just things that you're buying. It doesn't have to be monetary things. I think that it kind of overlaps with acts of service for a lot of people. So instead of you having to, go and run your bank dry because you're dating somebody who is receiving gifts, it could be little things like just like making them breakfast, or you're still giving to them. It is an act of service, but at the end of the day, it's still a gift.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Giving them food or whatever. I always use food because
it's good.
Yeah, I've most of the people I've been with have been physical touch, and I kind of learn to adjust. I think that like my sister can speak this, or like I'll be in relationships and I'll be very, very touchy with the guy, and she thinks it's wild. But
so
like,
weird.
This is what they need from me.
I literally just look and I'm like, ew, in front of people, like. Get a room.
But it does become second nature if you're like really
I noticed.
Absolutely. And you'd said, just as a reference point, that physical touch is your last one.
Oh yeah, didn't even get a 1.
Wow.
So the score is out of 30, by the way. I forgot to mention that. If you take the test on Gary Coleman's website, it's also on my website, unjaded.com, which premieres on September 18th, by the way. Shameless plug.
Unjaded. That's UNJAIDED.com.
Calm.
But yeah, if you take the love languages quiz, it scores you out of 30. So it's going to ask you 30 questions that kind of put all the love languages up against each other to figure out your love language, and you'll get a score. Like usually 12 is like about the highest you can get in any one language, and sometimes you'll get 12 in 2. So that's why I'm what they call bilingual in my
cute.
Love language. Yeah, because quality time and acts of service are tied for me. So yeah, with physical touch, it was a 0, but it's something that I don't necessarily relate to love, but it's something that I can do.
Wow, that's great. Fascinating.
Okay, so when you are trying to learn how to speak somebody else's love language, what, like, because it's just really hard to like change for people. And like, what are some of the things that you do to like help you learn that language for them and like make it genuine and authentic and not like, I'm doing this because I know you want me to.
So the first thing is learning what that love language means to them, because sometimes someone will be like, oh, my love language is, quality time. And you're like, okay, so I'm just going to hang out with you and I'm not really paying attention to you, but we're in the same room and I'm here. So why are you complaining? Whereas some people may feel like there needs to be stimulating conversation, need to be maybe engaging in activity together. So kind of figuring out what that means to them and then kind of applying it to yourself, in the sense where, maybe you're not really into like activities and you wouldn't really want to go to like an amusement park, but maybe we can go to like a board game cafe because I'm down with that because I like to like coffee, and
Mm.
this coffee analogy will come up
I
a
love
lot.
it. I love it.
But yeah, so I think it's the first thing is just kind of learning what it means to them and kind of seeing what you're willing and able to do. I know it's hard because people don't really want to, tell somebody what to do because it seems less authentic. But it could be very helpful to someone to kind of get them ideas of what you would classify as quality time or physical touch or whatever. Because if your partner is trying to just jump on you at every moment, just because, like you said, you love physical touch, and you're like, that's not what I meant. Yeah, so it
That's
doesn't work.
interesting. And then, furthermore, like I'm wondering about words of affirmation specifically. I'm going to use this as another example here. So, words of affirmation. There are some people who not even like 0% are words of affirmation, but actually hate compliments, hate receiving like if it's a birthday and I'm out here like giving you all my love and I'm and it's awkward for them because they have to almost match my energy, and which is not authentic for them to do. Because let's just say I tell you all these wonderful, amazing things about you, but that's very uncomfortable for you to do that, and I'm kind of displacing you. I'm kind of making on your day, I'm making it inconvenient for you to step outside of your comfort zone. Because one of my best friends that I can think of, I know his is like, he is not a words of affirmation person, but I love him deep, like, but he's just not a words person.
What are we talking about? Because I thought it was me for a bit, but then you said he. I'm like, who is it?
I have a few ideas, but
so
but
is that fair? Like to do that to somebody? Like now, because as I'm saying it all out, I kind of feel bad. I'm like, yo, maybe I shouldn't be telling you all these nice things about you because you don't like that.
I do think it there comes this balance of like chemistry versus compatibility, right? So like sometimes you may like really mesh well with somebody, but you're not really entirely compatible in the sense where like when you're in a relationship, how you give love does also matter, because in a sense, if you're somebody where like making other people feel good makes you feel good, it does matter how you want to give love and how you do that so if that is like something where it makes them so uncomfortable, they're like, do not compliment me, do not like say anything nice to me, that's when it becomes like a question of your compatibility.
Oh, that's great.
Because regardless, they should be able to understand that, like, this is how you give love and they're going to get these compliments from you. On the other hand,
that's
you are
such a
going
good point. Sorry, that's such a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, on the other hand, you are going to still make an effort to fulfill their primary love language. But in the end, it also fulfills your love language to be able to say these things and for them to be able to take in the good things you have to say to them or about them.
Wow, awesome. Good to know.
Yeah.
That is so true.
I never thought about the whole like chemistry versus compatibility, where it's like you can be that's interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like unpacking it in my head.
I know, me too. It's like it's literally it's downloading still. Because I'm like, you can have
it's like you
here's
could
the thing.
be.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're gonna say the same thing. Because like you could have like, you could be mad compatible with somebody. Like both of you have like acts of service as your love language, but then it's like maybe the specific acts of service that are chosen are not like, it's like not really hitting right because the chemistry is not quite there.
And then on the flip side of that, which is what I was going to say, which is so funny because you could have amazing chemistry with somebody, and that compatibility piece of not being able to connect on how and when and where you're not picking your moments of ensuring that love language is, because we're talking about speaking love languages, but on the other side of a speaking is hearing love languages. So you got to make sure that somebody is able to receive them on the way that that it's sensible, I guess, and it actually lands. Because I think about this in the way that even I digress a little bit here, but if you're about to have a tough conversation with somebody, I'm using this as an example, it doesn't make sense for this tough conversation to take place if you feel like your words aren't going to stick, because you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's in reference to this, it's like if y'all's love languages aren't really, I mean, let's just say you know you exactly who each other's are, but they're not sticking, then they're just kind of sitting there, you know, just in a pool, not doing much,
just floating around.
Yeah. But question for you two: second date. Is this something you're looking for in a person? Like, are you looking to see what their love language is, or do you wait until, specific to romance, not friendship, but romantic, sorry. Are you looking to see what their love languages are, or are you a little bit more, let me wait until I know that this is something that might stick?
Why did you say second date?
I don't know, because the first date is always a bit of a...
No, I'm listen.
So I'm the type where
put it all out there.
Yeah, if I see us like maybe being in a serious relationship potentially, I'm the type that's like, so what time and where were you born on the first date? That being said, some people, and when I say some people, I mean straight men, tend to be like a little bit like, like about all that stuff, and they think like, oh, you're just judging me by this, and that, and you know. So there are different ways to kind of approach it before making them, you know, handing them your phone and being like, take this test.
Sure.
On.
Yeah, definitely.
By just kind of seeing how they respond to things, like asking them questions. I did this actually did it with my nephew the other day, where I was like, oh, like, you know, I'm like, hey, handsome. I'm like hugging him and touching on him, kind of just like seeing what he's responding to better. And like, I was telling him how handsome and smart and good at basketball he is. And he was like so uncomfortable. But by the end of that conversation, he came and he hugged me. And I'm like, okay, so physical touch is your thing.
It's funny,
so
because that same nephew is the one where I would like come and hug him, and I would hold him for too long, as I do, and then he would like try to push me, because he was short, so he'd like push my hips away to try to get me off, and I'm like, are you pushing me away right now?
Well, I guess you can also display different love languages with different people.
Yes.
And like, your comfort. No, it's just all about like how comfortable you are with a person, right? So like, for example, like I don't like when people touch me, but there are like specific people that I'm like, sure, like all of the children in my life, I'm like, yes, come touch, come hug me, it's fine. But then like there are some people that I'm like, you're breathing on me right now, and I don't like it.
That's how you get corona.
That ain't that it.
Just kidding. Damn, can't even breathe on people no more.
Nope.
No, and you shouldn't ever. Like, why?
Yeah.
I hate when I'm like off topic, but not really. But I hate when you're like sleeping like in the same bed as someone, and then it's like if you're like facing each other and you're too close, and then you like inhale their exhale.
Oh God.
Disgusting.
No, thank you.
It's awful. Like, I actually hate that.
No, thank you.
I'll face the wall the whole night, or I'll sleep on my back.
1,000%. No,
yeah,
thank you.
I don't like that. I'm like, one of us is gonna suffocate.
And it ain't gonna be me.
Yeah.
What about you? That question of the first date, if you kind of try to channel what their love language is, do you try to kind of take that, or not take it out of, but like suss it out of them, or do you wait a little bit until like maybe a few months down the line or whatever?
Whoa! Wow. I'm like, did you forget who you're talking to? Okay, so for me, first date, I do all this on first date, because for me, I used to go about dating in relationships where I was like, I have to prove myself to this person, and it was very, very stressful. And now I'm kind of like more, I don't want to say I'm like interviewing, unless it's straight men, then I'm interviewing, because there's specific things I need to know, because your breed is problematic. But like I'm more like gathering information. So like all of that stuff, if they tell a story about someone getting them a gift or whatever, or if they tell a story about someone doing something for them, or even them doing something for someone, it's like I'm looking for that stuff basically right away if I even like you a little bit.
Okay.
If
cool.
I don't like you, then I'm not. No.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think it's important to know those things early on, in any relationship you have, just to make sure that you are on the right track.
But the reason sorry, go ahead, Clara, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna like bring it back to what you were saying before, that regardless of whether it's different or not, that shouldn't be a reason to like end a friendship or a relationship.
Yeah.
Because again, chemistry does play a role in that.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's interesting because when I approached that question, I said it in the sense of romantic, but then when you flip it the other side of the coin and talk about platonic, so friendships, which we all know are just as important. We're not out here putting romantic above platonic, platonic relationships your friends are important. Platonic relationships are just as important. But when I think about platonic relationships, though, because as we talked about last week, because there's no real markers when it comes, or at least in a societal standpoint, there's no real markers when it comes to friendship, and there's not enough kind of like information or data surrounding friendship. It's a little bit more convoluted to figure out when and where to start placing love languages on your friends. So as you said, you suss out that information on a first date, but can you really assess when a first date with a friend is? Sometimes not necessarily, because it's like we hung out one time, it was cool, then we hung out again, and then hung out again, and then hung out again, and like, oh, cool, we're friends, and but like you don't go on like, I mean, we should normalize this. I think we should, at least friend dates should be a thing, but we don't do that in our society at the very least. So on a platonic sense, how does that kind of come into play?
So I started thinking about this actually when I was starting to work on my blog. I realized there's a lot of like love language articles and quizzes that were directed at your friendships at your romantic relationships, and even like your relationships with your kids, but then not really with your friends. And I'm like, oh, this is a very important relationship.
Yes, totally. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And it's something that I started thinking about because I struggled a lot with platonic relationships. I would find that I would never really find people that quite hit the spot for me in the sense where like
where's the spot, Clara?
I mean, well, it depends what kind of friend we're talking about, but most of the time it was a thing where we were great friends if we were just kind of hanging out, not really talking about anything serious. But then if something would happen in my life, that's kind of when it was like a test of our friendship to see if they would do the thing that I needed in that moment. So which kind of led me to create my love languages test based off Gary Chapman's test, where it kind of it speaks to an event happening in your life and how you want your friend to react, thus leading you to what your love language is. So like if you are going through a breakup, would you rather your friend comfort you using words and telling you, you know what, like that, like you didn't deserve what happened to you and you're going to bounce back, and kind of affirming you and uplifting you in that way? Or would you like them to be like, hey, you know what, I'm coming over with your favorite like dessert, and we're gonna watch your movies and we're gonna cry, and kind of seeing what you need and out of a friend, because I feel like that's really the only way to really have a good and strong and true friendship, is to really be fulfilling each other's needs in those moments where you are really low or you are really high, or you really need someone there for you. So
it's so fascinating hearing you say that too, because I do think, let's use that example of a breakup. If somebody's going through a breakup, and sometimes people have you obviously different friends for different reasons, but you got that one friend that's just like, okay, let me know like when you're like almost ready to get over it, and we'll go out and we'll dip and we'll do. But then you got those other friends that are like, I'm coming over right now, I've got wine, we'll cry all night if we need to. But then you've got those other friends that really come with so much sound advice, right? But is it unique, or not even unique, but is it, I kind of think of the pressure you put on one person to fulfill all of those different things. So
I feel like that's why friendships are so important, but yet so slept on in our society.
Yeah.
It's like you're not going to get all of your needs fulfilled by your spouse. It's impossible. There's no way that one person is going to be your everything. And also, if they are, that's very unhealthy. Like, they shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that. That's not the way that relationships should work.
Absolutely.
So
and we're very comfortable putting that pressure on a relationship, but then
yeah.
not and not so much on a friendship, in the sense where like your friend isn't there for you the way you want them to be one time and you're done. But your partner is cheating on you time and time again. And it's like, well, they said they're sorry.
And all of a sudden you have all this room for forgiveness. All of a sudden you're trying to get right with the Lord. But when it's your girl over here that, you know, just picked you up a little bit too late for your liking or whatever. All of a sudden you're like, fuck that bitch.
And that's kind of why we have multiple friends. We have friends that, you know, we can go to for certain things, and friends that maybe, you know, not really the best friend to go to if you're like going through a hard time, but if you're ready to party or get drunk, like, you know, that's the friend that you go to.
So I have a question. Are you then implying that we should have multiple partners? Is that what you're saying?
I am saying you should have multiple people in your life.
I love it. Good one.
Whether that
good save.
If for you that means multiple partners, do that. Like, honestly, I like if that's what you need multiple romantic partners, and you're not feeling like one person can't fulfill you in all the ways that you need to be fulfilled, do that. If you feel like you need
honestly.
And if you feel like, you know what, I need one partner, but I need many friends to fulfill me in ways that my partner may not be able to. For example, like if I'm in a like heterosexual relationship and say my like man is like, you know what, I don't care about Real Housewives. I don't want to hear that shit, and I need that. I need that outlet. I need that quality time. Guess what? I have my friends to go talk about Real Housewives, and they're gonna take that in and. So you kind of need different people to fulfill different things for you, which is why sometimes your love language romantically and your like friendship love language are often different.
Oh, fascinating. Have either of you ever been with somebody whose love language was so challenging for you personally to give, based on the person specifically?
Oof. Yes.
Yep. Yep.
I was with someone once that was very words. They wanted to hear all the time that I loved them. And I'm like, you should just know, bruh. You should just know. Like, I'm like, I cleaned your house. I made you dinner. Like, what do you mean? Why would I do that? Like, I didn't have to do that for you, and I did, because I am my mother's child, and she said the same thing to me when I was younger, and I asked her why she doesn't say I love you, and yeah, that was the answer. So it's really hard for me to say that, and like, even when okay, so it's interesting because I was listening to an episode of Bobo and Flex where they were talking about something similar. And Flex had mentioned something that I very much resonated with, where she was like, if you like words of affirmation, it's hard for me to give you those words if you have done nothing to deserve them. And it's like, it sounds really... It sounds not very nice, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not one to just, like, if I notice something, I can say something, and that's fine, but it's not like all the time, just because you happen to be in the vicinity, I'm like, wow, you're like really good with your words, and you're also very into, like, I'm you know, I'm not, that's really hard for me. Like, it has to be a something, and that's even like saying I love you. Usually it's like after something, after,
I think that
like,
speaks to a bigger issue, and kind of becomes a more of an attachment style issue, with that person constantly needing that reassurance.
You thought she was going to come for you, didn't you?
I thought she was going to come, and I was like, you know what? Maybe we won't have you on again.
I leaned in. I said, oh.
You were ready. You're like, ooh.
But no, for real. You
for real.
have your
Yeah.
love languages, but think about if you want this, if you are requiring this love language in a healthy way. Because if I'm acts of service and I just really want a domestic servant and I want a man to be just doing and doing and doing for me, and I don't want to do anything in return, like that seems very unrealistic. It doesn't seem, it is unrealistic, and it's impossible for anybody to fulfill. So while that may be your love language, managing it is very, very important.
Yeah, that's a word.
Yes. Clara, the same question for you. Have you ever been with somebody whose love language is challenging for you to give? Again, specific to the person.
So with others, no. With myself, yes.
So explain.
So I'm very, very good at like fulfilling people's love languages. Like once I know it, I'm just like, all right, this is what I'm good at. Like I'm just very, very giving in that way. But when it comes to myself, I don't really know how to fulfill my own love language, my own self-love language.
Okay.
It's really hard for me because I feel like sometimes I fulfill my own love language by giving to others.
Fascinating. Wow.
But then when I don't receive the same in return, sometimes it makes me feel like it's a fault of mine rather than like a reflection of them not being appreciative of my.
Interesting.
So what do you think your love language is for yourself, like your self-love language?
So after taking the test that I made,
all
the tests that I keep making because I'm like, why hasn't anybody done this yet?
Yeah.
So,
that is the thing that
So physical touch is, and that sounds really weird. I know that people's heads went somewhere and like chill out for a second.
I love it. You better facilitate your own nut.
I mean, yes, with that, I have a very nice collection of vibrators, but but really, it's like I really enjoy doing things to make myself look good or feel good. So whether that's getting my nails done or like a bath or a spa day, or I just really enjoy pampering myself. Something that I don't quite do as often as I feel like I should, but that is my like primary love language with myself. I don't want other people to touch me, but I can touch myself.
Okay.
Interesting.
Very.
What do you think? Well, before taking the test, what would on the top of your head, Ali, what do you think your love language to yourself would be?
I would say, I'm gonna go on the same sort of vibe as Clara and say, as much as mine is words of affirmation, I'm sometimes not the kindest to myself as often we are, and that is something, don't get me wrong, that I am working on consistently and constantly, is just being kinder to myself and not being so hard on myself. And go ahead.
I will beat your ass. I will beat your ass if I hear that you have been being rude to you.
Okay? And I remember this one time you were like,
both
why
of
are you being so rude to my friend? Like when I was saying something about myself, I was like, why are you being so rude to my friend? I don't like that. Which even hearing you say that, I remember in that moment I was like, it was actually it was a very reassuring thing for me to hear as a friend, like that you clocked that I was being a little bit too hard on myself about something. So thank you for that. But
you're welcome. I guess I do like words.
But for me, mine is quality time. Like I really love time by myself. Like I really like I can think, especially on this kind of regimented schedule that we've been on in regards to the podcast. Like I know we record on this night, so I have to dedicate this night to doing this and that night to doing that. And then when it comes to Thursdays, when we release the episode by Thursday night, it's really important for me to have some downtime and like just time to myself. Like I don't want to be running around doing this, doing that, you know what I mean? That's like that's the one that I love, that love language for me personally. Quality time. Nothing better, and I've said this before, but a glass of wine and a podcast by yourself, you're or like listening to, I went for like a 2.5 hour walk, just listening to music and just, and that was, I wouldn't want to do that with anybody else.
I love that for you.
I need that for me, myself, by myself. I would have, and that would have been a great opportunity. I am. That would have been a great opportunity to use that, like, for somebody that, carries and has a lot of long distance friendships. Like I try to find my pockets of time to FaceTime this person, call this person, yada yada. But tonight I was like, I just kind of want to not have to, even though I had 2.5 hours free, I still used it for myself. Do you know what I mean? And that has to be okay. Like you got to do that for yourself sometimes. So
unscheduled time does not mean that it is free
come
time.
on now. Come on now. What about you?
I think mine is, I'd like to say, I feel like it is to some extent quality time, or like that, where it's like I like to be by myself a lot. And that's like refreshing for me. But I feel like when I'm truly, sometimes I can have quality time where it's like I'm not sitting here loving on myself. I'm just here, you know? It's kind of like a recharge thing for me. While I feel like when it comes to self-love, I honestly feel like I'm a words of affirmation type. Because I talk to myself a lot. And I talk to myself out loud sometimes. And I have to like hype myself up. And sometimes like I'll do it. Like I started doing it again because it was a thing where I'm like, why are you so mean to me? Like at me. I'm like, why are you so mean? Like, what have I done to deserve this? And it's like, it's not, you can't be mean to you when like other people are going to be mean to you in the world, because people in general, like, is just, that's just what it is. People are going to be mean to you. And you should not be one of the people that's also mean to you, because there's already other people out there in the world. You already have haters for that. You don't need
yourself
you to be your own hater. So I would like hype myself up. And I remember like having a whiteboard that I would like write little like quotes on and stuff like that. And I still kind of do that, where I'll write down like sometimes like a song lyric that just hits, or something, some quote that I heard somewhere. I'll like write on a post-it note and put it on my mirror. And then I'll like say it to myself. And then I'll like have a little conversation with myself and be like, girl, you're so cute. And you like funny or whatever. Like,
see, if you didn't say that about yourself, I would have been like, you're incorrect, because that is... Because in my head I was thinking, when I was making the self-love language test, I described them as instead of like, you know, acts of service, blah blah blah, it was like think, feel, do, presence, and give. So the think self-lover is the words of affirmation, and one of the things that I recommended for people who are that is to like do daily affirmations, journaling, writing letters and notes to yourself. And that is something that you really do.
Cool.
I do. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah, no, I will come in your room and there's sticky notes all over the place, but they all say like very like loving and like affirming things. Like I feel good walking out of there. Like I'm like, yes, you can do it.
Yes. You're welcome.
How Leo of you to make yourself and everybody else feel good.
I mean, listen, like we all gonna feel this way, okay? We all woke up like this.
I love it. I love it. Just in even having this conversation, it's in relation to ourselves, but on the flip, when we were talking earlier about just other people, I was just thinking about how it's so simple to just say off the cuff, we're all different people, right? Like, but like truly at the end of the day, we are literally different people, and we have different brains and minds and upbringings and trigger points. And what I love about this love languages thing is it's really cool to have this tangible point or reference point to learn and care about another individual. I think that's what's so neat about this, is you are taking the time out to just think of somebody else and how can I do and be better for somebody else. I think there's something really powerful in that. And that's what's so cool about love languages, again, like, because you could have like, I don't know, you could have 10 friends and all 10 of them have completely different love languages, and you're kind of you're playing that balancing act. And if you're willing to do that, I think that speaks so much to your character as a person. But I believe that most of us are willing to, I want to believe most of us are willing to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like most people are like, yeah, let's
Ideally.
I mean, but I also don't know if I know anybody that, if I do know somebody that's not willing to do that, I just don't think they're in my life anymore.
Oh yeah.
Truthfully,
no.
like, and it's
Absolutely.
and they shouldn't be. I feel like,
yeah.
because I don't know. I think that that's a very important thing. I think it's very important to be able to express your love and like and willingness to be around to like your people in your life, because I don't know, I feel like it's just it's something that's not, I don't think it's done as often as it should be. And for me personally, as someone who always feels like anybody that I talk to or reach out to, I feel like I'm bugging them, it's like important to know that it's like, no, this person legitimately likes your company. Like I feel like I've had this conversation with you at least 4 times.
Yes.
Like in the last, like literally in like this month, even at least 4 times this month, and Kenny too, because Kenny literally was like, I was like, I'm going in the woods, let's hope I don't see a bear or whatever, and he's like, yeah, don't die, I like you. And I'm like, do you?
So would you say that words of affirmation is something that
Chile. All right, here we go.
Okay, so you peeped that. Okay. I mean, yeah, I do. Yeah, no, yeah.
Locked that.
Yeah. But not from a significant. Well,
yeah. So that's the thing about love language, is that everybody needs all of them. At the end of the day, you need every single one.
Yeah.
There are
even
just some
touch,
that are
Clara, even touch.
Even honestly, even touch. I will feel away if my man comes in the house and just doesn't. He just doesn't hug me, doesn't nothing. I'm like, is there something wrong? Like, you know.
That's
so
true.
Yeah, it's we need everything to some extent, but there are some that are just really, really important to us, and you know, sometimes we have to compromise, especially in friendships, where it's like, you know what, maybe I need words of affirmation. They're not so good at that, but they spend a lot of time with me. So that shows me that they care. Or maybe they, you know, or sometimes people are words of affirmation, but not directly to you. Like our mom, for example, she will say great things about you to other people, but then not to your face. But we just are comforted in the fact that we know that, like, you know, if somebody else is talking shit about us, our mom is going to have our back. And she thinks that we're great, but just not to our face. So.
She doesn't want us to get big-headed, so she has to make sure that we don't know that she thinks we're great. So we just hear it sometimes through the grapevine.
From like from the other sister, like, mom says like you're the only one that does like,
and I'm like, what? Oh my gosh,
she had never said that to me.
Like, I haven't said that. What about me?
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I'm another kind of I guess we'll have a few more points and then we can wrap up, but I'm even thinking on a social scale, as we are existing, all of us. I just watched this documentary style thing on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. I'm forgetting about the name already, but it's like this social
experiment.
Thank you. Yes. The social experiment, or something like that. And it was it was good. I mean, mind you, I was on my phone the entire time. But
my gosh, is that wait. So I have not seen it, but I've seen like the poster for it.
Yeah.
And by what I saw, you have just contradicted all of the whole point of watching it.
No.
By being on your phone? No.
No. Listen. I was I'm not defending myself. I am fully owning the fact that I did everything wrong in watching it. So I am actually I'm gonna I like it. I'm gonna watch it again, but I'm gonna put my phone away. Like, because as I was watching it, it's telling me everything that is wrong with the medias of the social, and I am on Twitter. Here I am on, so I was like, this is so I'm calling myself out. Like, I watched it. It was great, but I feel like obviously I missed some important parts. But my question to this, and anyway, I'm gonna watch it again with no devices around me. But we are existing in a very social. Did you watch it, Clara?
I have not, but my manager, I work for a tech company. He was like, we need to watch this. We need to leverage some of this in how we advertise. And I'm like, yes.
I mean, because the more people that watch this, the more, again, that watch it with not the intent that I did. I shouldn't say intent, but I was just tired, so I didn't really feel like thinking too much. So I was just, I had it on in the background more or less. But I think there's a lot of content that's in this that I think will have people revisiting the way they approach their relationship with social media. But with that being said, we obviously live in a social media world, and the last arguably 5 years, we can go further than that, but it's really propelled into this insane stratosphere. But I want to think about, I'm going to create a bit of a situation, I guess, where I want to say somebody's love language is gift giving. Okay. And we have three people. One person's love language is gift giving. It's their birthday. They receive this extravagant gift. And then another person's love language, the third person's, is words. And they send this person a letter with how much they love them. But on the scale of social media, who is the one that's going to see how much they're loved? It's the person that got them this extravagant gift, correct? And
yeah, that's true.
So when I think about that, I'm just wondering, it's like, it's hard because I don't want to feed into that side of social media because it is a highlight reel. We all understand that, but it's so interesting to know that sometimes, like, people just think the person that you posted about, or the person that you posted about this gift, is the one that loves you the most, where you might have friends that have sent you this really personalized phone call or text message or whatever, and they're not, the world isn't going to see that. Do you know what I'm saying? So then as a kind of a voyeuristic person looking in, and when we kind of assume things about people, like, oh, this person's obviously super close with this person, or that person's obviously super close with that person, does that come into play at all? Is that something you've thought about, Clara? Like, just in terms of this stuff?
Yeah, so I am like someone who uses social media a lot, but I am someone that I because of past experiences, I try not to like overly post like my significant other, but I will like post my friends a lot. Like I'll do things like that, and sometimes I've dealt with partners who feel like, okay, well, you know, if I'm your man and I'm not anywhere to be seen on any of your social media, like, you know, and so when it comes to social media, I think it's very important to have that conversation with your partner, maybe even sometimes your friends, if you're like that with them, about whether that is something that is important to them.
Fair.
Because I have met people who are like, it's very, very important that it says that we're in a relationship on Facebook, that it says that like it's important to them to be somewhere in your online.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And there's some people who are like, you know what, I would prefer if we didn't. So I think it all comes down to the type of person you are dealing with, the type of person that you are.
Fair.
Because I mean, it's very obvious on my social media in terms of like my Instagram stories, who I'm close with. Like I, you know, will post you guys, I'll post Lenah, I'll post you. But that being said, when it comes to, there are some friends that I post all the time that would I say that they love me the most? Probably not. Would I even say that we're like best friends? No.
Do we like each other at all? No, we don't.
Nah, we absolutely hate each other's guts. Like, but knowing that like social media is not real, like it is real life, but it's not always what it seems. And if you are somebody who is just not really a social media person for whatever your reasons may be, you might want to rethink like entering a relationship with like a Instagram model, right?
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And kind of one of my last points is I'm thinking, so we talked through the 5 love languages as what they are. What about when people overextend them beyond the 5? So when people will be like, oh, wine is my love language, or brunch is my love language, or whatever, you know, is that like when people kind of lighten the mood like that, is like, I don't know, like, is that applicable to this stuff, or does it kind of fit into categories?
It's honestly, I was talking to a guy who I one time told that my love language was receiving was new music, and like every day from the time that I knew him, he would send me a new song every morning.
Yo,
and like really cute, but like, and at the end of the day, it's like I feel like all of those love languages can really fit into one of the five. Like if you're like brunch is my love language, I'm like, okay, so you probably enjoy quality time. And maybe even receiving gifts. I don't know. Maybe you want to be taken out to brunch. You want to, you want to be wine and dine. You want to be flued out. Like you are a receiving gifts person. Like,
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I told Kenny last weekend that my love language was letting me taste the food out the pot. Which one do you think that would be?
Acts of service. That's my first. Yeah.
Okay, I accept that. That makes sense.
Yeah, because it's okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, Clara. Like, jump in if you think I'm going too far on this. But I think that's I'm cooking this meal for us or for you or whatever it is, and then I want to ensure that you're going to enjoy this. So have a taste.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
absolutely. Okay. Right on the money.
Yeah.
Oh, yay.
If you're tasting food out of the pot, you are assuming he's cooking for you. Somebody's cooking for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because one of the things that I've said before, I've even said it on the podcast, is one of my love languages is sitting around a room and watching YouTube videos with your friends. Like, I love that stuff.
Quality time.
That's what I never thought of it as that. I never clocked it as that ever in my life. But it's
Can
so
I say
obvious.
a thing? I need to say a thing.
Hit it.
So that situation, quality time, right? But I feel like the only reason that I personally feel like that is quality time is because, and you may have noticed this when we have sat and watched music videos together, there's a lot of talking going on. Mm-hmm. So we will talk about anything that comes up on the screen. There'll be like that one, what's her face, Latoya Luckett song, and we discussed how wild that was and how triggering it was to watch for some of us. And like, because to me, it's like when I think quality time, I'm more of a like conversationalist where I like to just like, I want to talk. I like to talk. You both know I like to talk.
Yes.
Y'all listening know I like to talk. So I
have two things to say about that.
Sit down somewhere and speak words at each other. All right, go ahead.
So the first, kind of back to before what Lenah said, back to what Ali said. Wow, I've been drinking, guys. Y'all told me to get some wine, and I got some. But by saying these other things are my love language, that's a really great way to avoid the whole handing someone your phone on the first date thing. So if you're like, if you throw out like, like dancing is my love language, or like whatever it is, and like they come back with like, like you said, like watching music videos together is my love language, and you're like, okay, so you must be like kind of getting them to say what their love language is without getting them to take this test.
I love that. Oh my,
yeah,
I don't know why my mind is being blown right now. Like, honestly, because I'm like, like that. But that's so true. Because again, on that level, like one of my love languages is sharing, like as much. Like obviously sitting around a room watching YouTube videos. And to your point, Lenah, like what I love about that is we're not sitting in silence. Like we are connecting as we're doing it. We're laughing about it, or we're sharing stories about why this song is so meaningful. Like there's nothing that bugs me more than if I put on a music video and nobody's paying it, or like let's just say it's like three of us. I know last weekend there was more of us, but like let's say three of us, and like the two people that I'm with aren't watching the video. I'm hurt. Like I'm legitimate. I'm not even like annoyed. I'm actually hurt. Because I'm like, well, what's the point? Because we're like, but
so you don't care then. So you just don't care.
That's it. And that's not quality time. And I never clocked this as a quality time thing.
So that's also what takes me to like the next thing, where it's like you really have to like not just say your love language, but say what that means to you. Because for some people, they might be quality time people, but they don't consider a long phone call quality time. They want to be in your presence. They want to actually, or there are some people that, they're like just sitting around and like you said, watching a movie doesn't really work for them, and they want to talk. they want to watch the video and like discuss what's going on. And then there's people that are like, I don't want you to talk during this movie.
Totally.
Like,
totally. Yes.
Yeah, so it's very important to like specify, because that is really important, because like if they don't know that about you, they're like, whatever, I don't know why he's mad, like I came over and we were there, but I didn't pay attention to anything he said to me or anything he showed me. People are like, you're gonna be like, yeah, we didn't spend any time together, you were on your phone, like
yeah, there you go.
Like, what was the point of that?
Yeah, that's so interesting. And then oh God, this is so cool. It's like I'm learning so much even as we're talking, because I'm like, yeah, that's so vital. You can't just claim quality time because you were in the same room as somebody. Like, you got to put in that effort, and you can't just claim words of affirmation because you said you look nice. You got to put in the meaningful words. You can't just claim physical touch because you hugged somebody. You got to mean that hug. You know, you can't claim receiving gifts because you got something you got from the airport. You gotta find them something from the country you just came from that made you think of them. You can't just claim acts of service because you're making macaroni and cheese. You gotta make that homegrown macaroni and
that
cheese.
person's lactose intolerant, first of all. So
listen, that's so important to point out.
So yeah, and I really try to get people to get out of that. Like, it's the thought that counts. It's like, that's really cute in the beginning, but once you're in a relationship with somebody, it doesn't work. The thought doesn't just count that you made mac and cheese and it slipped your mind that they were, lactose intolerant. Like, it's not just about the thought anymore once you're like in that relationship. So
because you know what, it's like, when you're in it, once you're in it, it's like you can sit there and be like, the thought is the thought that counts, but it's like you didn't really put much thought into it. You just decided to do a thing because
you had an initial thought, and that was the thought.
Exactly. You didn't.
There was no follow-up thought.
That. There was just one single thought. Okay, just one.
So I'm gonna say this with my chest. Like, I think we're good to kind of erase that narrative then, the thought that counts.
Yes, please.
Honestly,
I approve.
As you just said that, I'm like, right, it is, the thought does not count though.
No, it doesn't.
Because
I think
you only
I
put
so many
a
things.
sliver of a thought.
The execution counts.
Execution
counts!
Bitch!
Yes!
And you know how many times I say that though? Like, oh, it's the thought that counts. Like, that's such a normal thing that we say in society.
I say it to be very... Like, I say it to be condescending.
Oh, same.
When someone gives me something that, like, again, if somebody's like, oh, here's some cream cheese on this bagel and I got you for lunch. I'm like, oh, okay, I can't eat that, but it's the thought that counts. Because I'm like, it's like,
there was no thought. You weren't thinking. You're like, who can I give this bagel to?
This is a thing. Yeah, exactly. It's like the thought wasn't specific to me. So you can't say that the thought counts, because if the thought is what counts, then that means I do not count because I was not included in that thought. So
if you start counting your executions, then it makes more sense. Then you're like, okay, so what did you actually do for me?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
What have you done for me lately?
Before we let you go, Clara, I just have one last question, because you done said somebody, when you said one of your love languages was finding new music, and they would send you, like, okay, because that is one of mine. No, straight, like, I love when people send you music specifically, especially on Spotify, when you can share songs. When they share a song with me because it made me think, or made them think of me, you might as well just melt me. Like, I just find that so thoughtful, so meaningful, so, like, I love that stuff. So in that situation, for, like, I mean, she's like,
how did you not marry this person? How did you not? Why aren't you married?
We don't gotta go down that route. But I mean, I could just imagine how much harder it would have been to get out of it, because if you're sending me songs every morning, but was it the lack of the thought that counted? Maybe were they sending you country music?
No. So sometimes I was like, okay, like it was like, sometimes I'm like, okay, you probably sent this for a reason. Other times it was like, you're just sending this for the sake of sending this because you know I don't listen to that Texas, like, but with that being said, I did appreciate the effort in being so consistent with it.
Sure,
the consistency is what mattered to me, because whether even though sometimes I was like, it's like, there was never a day that was forgotten. It was like without fail. So that's what I appreciate about it. And some most of the time it was good music. Other times I was like, you know, and I would be honest, I'm like, listen, this one it was a very you could tell it was from straight out of Houston.
Yeah, you gotta tweak
Beyonce
the algorithm, right? You're like, let me just tell you what's working and what's not, so that the algorithm works.
Absolutely. But most of the time it was good. So
Okay. I love that. Clara, thank you so much for being here with us. This was honestly such an amazing and insightful conversation that I feel like I'm going to listen back to this like at least 5 times just to like really get the
It's her voice, right?
It's her voice.
It's her voice.
That's the voice. You got made for radio, yo. Made for radio. Before we leave, can you let the people know where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on everything. I have every single social media there is to have. It is Clara Jaide, ClaraJaide. My blog is unjaded, UNJAIDED.com. And the podcast, when it comes out in October, is going to be Unjaded, the podcast. So,
say that one more time.
The podcast, which is going to be pretty much what's on my blog, but a more personalized version, because on my blog I'm talking to you, but on the podcast I'm talking about me, and I'm gonna have people on there like y'all with like real experience to share about your relationship experiences and things like that. So
I'm so excited.
It's gonna be real juicy.
I'm so excited.
We love the juice.
Oh my goodness. Lenah, is there any lasting words you want to leave with our sister?
I just want to let you know that you have a voice for radio and a face for Instagram baddies.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, bitch. You're a bad bitch. Okay.
1,000%.
Don't forget it.
1,000%. Thank you again so much for being here with us. We know we're gonna have you back for the Lost Languages episode.
Yes, please take the tests on my website.
Yes, that's right.
That.
That's right. We got to do these tests, and listeners as well, as you know the website, you know where to find her. Take these tests.
Comes out in October.
That's right. But I don't want to let you go because I'm just like, this is just so good. But all good things must come to an end. My girl Nelly Furtado said so.
Did she?
She done said that, yeah. She said, you don't remember
at some point, I'm sure. No.
To dust, lovers to friends.
Oh, that's right.
Why do all things come to an end?
Yeah, I forgot
do they
about
though?
that song.
Or do
because
they?
Every up has to have a down, every good has to have a bad, and yeah, it's just the way of the world. Okay,
that's just the way of the world. That's how karma works, isn't it? Whew. With that being said, Clara, one more time, thank you so much for being on Speak of That. You are phenomenal. I am so happy we did this, and yes, we're gonna have you back on this very pod.
Thank
you. We can't wait.
This one, fun.
Y'all are so fun.
I know, right?
We do try. I feel like any last words for you? Sorry, Clara. Any last words for you?
No, just thank you guys so much for having me, and I can't wait to not listen to this one because I hate my voice, but next week though. Y'all can just send me a version with me cut out. We can do that.
Because that makes sense.
You might not like it, but listen, everybody else is gonna love it.
Everybody else likes it.
Is gonna love it. So thank you so much. You are the best, and we will speak to you on the next episode featuring you with the Lost Languages. We can't wait. And we will be right back, y'all. And we are back.
And queer and black.
I did not want that to end.
I know. That was so good.
It was so good. She is so insightful and
do you know
so,
why she
like,
is?
oh.
Because I raised her.
I cannot.
Thank you.
My goodness. Don't you mean you're welcome?
That as well. Also, and as well, you're welcome.
Oh, I love it. I love it. But it is time for our next segment called Pop Culture.
Period.
You know it.
Yes, that was so I love. Okay,
go ahead.
I just got excited because we did it right.
We did it right. We're gonna get there. So there was a lot. No, I shouldn't say a lot, but yeah, a little bit of a lot of it going on in the news this week. I guess I should set up. Maybe I'll set it up. If people don't know what it is by now, maybe you're a new listener because we get new people every week. Let me just address what this is.
Oh,
so
really?
We Pop Culture Period is a segment where we talk about what's happening in the news. We put 5 minutes on the clock. I set up the story. We have 5 minutes to discuss, dissect, sometimes dilute the story, and depending on what week it is, and and then that's kind of what it is. So pretty simple concept. I was going to say this week there was like a little bit of stuff going on. I'm just from the jump. I am just going to say this. I was going to talk Kanye because he's been on some stuff tonight. I actually have Lenah. He has been. I don't like. I'm just gonna like really quickly. This is not one of our topics, but he has peed in a Grammy Award. He has apologized.
Sorry, wait, what?
Yes, and he took a video of him peeing in a Grammy Award in a toilet. He has apologized to Taylor Swift, calling her a queen. He has
what?
Yeah, he has. What else has he said? All of this seems to be stemming from what I gather. Like when I was trying to gather information about the story, it was so convoluted that I was like, I can't talk about this on the podcast because I don't know what's going on. Like it was so convoluted, and it seems to be stemming from a producer that said something about him not wanting to. So producer said something about Kanye, saying Kanye was like, I don't ever want to work with him, but because and then because Kanye was upset that this producer had worked with Beyonce. So then, like this is what I'm saying. It was just very confusing. So this spiraled into like, and I'm gonna be very like, just like I'm like, let's be respectful. I guess it's like I understand that this could be an episode of his bipolarism just kind of coming out, but my main thing is though, like I can't speak to that disease, but I do think, this is I hope this does not sound problematic, but there's got to be a better way than this. Not everything has to be on social media. There's got to be a better way than this. This is not it.
Yeah.
Like,
There's so many things that go on with him that are none of our business.
Exactly.
And yet,
and here we
know all about them.
So let's leave that there. Honestly, he's not even worth our breath. Like he's just like,
at this point, it's
like ugh.
Somebody come collect him. That's because
that's it. But with that being said,
but all the love and light.
Honestly, all the best. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck to you. Good luck to you. But our first topic. So after a highly publicized courtship and 2 years of marriage that produced one of the cutest babies ever. Culture. Little baby Culture. Cardi B has officially filed for divorce from her husband, Offset. Offset being 1/3 of the group Migos. The report reads, Cardi B previously announced her decision to divorce her husband, Offset, but the rapper jumped into action to right his wrongs and made a public apology at one of her biggest public festival performances. So, this comes on the heels of years of cheating.
Again?
Again.
Sorry.
This comes on the heels
Yeah, no, I'm
of
away. Go ahead.
cheating scandals and of years of cheating scandals and allegations on Offset's part, but seemingly and an on again, off again relationship between the two. Cardi B also stated in an interview months prior that her upcoming album will be, quote, her lemonade. Obviously,
Ooh.
lemonade in reference to Beyonce's, storytelling album where she kind of aired all that laundry. So really not too many questions here, but one and only question is, what do we think? And our time starts now.
Beep, 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 beep. It's about time. We knew.
Yeah.
Like, she tried to do it before, and then he came and was like, nah, or whatever. And it's just like, I don't know. Personally, I'm tired of seeing... Ooh, that could be problematic. Do we consider Cardi B black? We consider her black, yeah?
I think, yeah, we do, right? We do. Okay, yes, let's say yes. And then
let's
we'll talk
say
later.
Yes for the sake of, yeah, well, that has to be a whole other topic. But yeah, I'm just tired of seeing black men shit on black women and suffer no consequences at all, and just kind of continue on with their bullshit ways and still get to have a wife and children and a family and whatever, and nobody ever talks shit about them, and everyone's just like, oh, Cardi needs to worry about being a mother or whatever instead of worrying about her WAP. But like, yeah, it's about time that she, yeah.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, 1,000%. I think this has been, again, we don't know them. And again, when I look at like what people are saying online and stuff, I'm like, y'all know that you don't know them, right? Like, people are so opinionated. And like, I just want to speak from on a, optical level of just like what this looks like from our point of view, which is, she's done. Like, she's just tired. She's over it. We don't have an official statement from her. We don't have,
I've been so tired
for her. Exactly. And what I think is so interesting about this too is people, as you just mentioned, people are so quick to be like, oh, like, I can't believe, to kind of label her as a failure because she wasn't able to, quote unquote, keep her man, or quote unquote, and what gets
such
me,
bullshit.
No, 1,000%. But what gets me is, I'm like, you do realize that she is the only female rapper to have a Grammy Award. She currently has the #1 song in the world and the country of the United States of America, that place. She is like the only female rapper to have 3 #1s. Like, who is losing here? I don't understand.
That's the thing. Like, how is separating from a man that like consistently cheats on you, how is that a failure? I don't see
and
it
why is that on
that
her?
way at all. That's the thing,
because
he's the one who couldn't get his shit together. So like,
why is it on her?
This has nothing to do with her.
No,
like, she set her like expectations and he could not meet them, so that's a failure for him, if anything.
Absolutely. Imagine fumbling the ball on Cardi B. Like, that's like real.
And the way that she loved him,
that's what I'm saying. She did. He
played himself.
We knew too much about how much she loved him. Like, the things she'd be tweeting about and stuff, I'd be like, okay, we don't need to know all that.
I'm like, okay, exactly, right. I'm like, we're good. It's fine. That's a lot.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it is. It's so. It's interesting that's the narrative that this is taken, especially when I was on Twitter yesterday and today, just kind of like looking through comments and stuff, just to kind of gain a greater perspective of the story as a whole. And obviously, like, there's a ton of Black people, Black Twitter specifically, is very invested in this, and all of a sudden, people hop on the internet and they are the experts. And I'm like, okay, but you don't know the situation though. Like, you don't really know, like, for to be calling Cardi B a failure, to be calling Cardi B, like, this is gonna be a detriment to your career, as if she needed Offset to be successful. Like, this is what I'm seeing. No,
he was not the reason she was successful. That's what I'm saying.
But people are convinced that that is the case, and I think most people wouldn't associate her with. I think I should have had to define who Offset is for most listeners here. Like, I think most people know Cardi B as Cardi B, and that's simply it. Yeah. They don't know her husband. They probably didn't even know she was married.
Exactly. Like, he's not the thing is, Cardi B has crossed cultures. While I feel like Offset and Migos have not.
Exactly.
Which is like, no, I'm not saying that as a bad thing
No, absolutely.
or whatever.
Absolutely.
But
in the broader
that's just
sense.
what it is. Like, Cardi B is a household name now.
Absolutely.
People know her.
Absolutely.
People all over the place know her.
Republicans are using her as a talking point.
Exactly.
Like, it's like, what? It's just wild to think. Like,
and they're like, what do you mean Offset what?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Why are we not having it just in line?
She'll be just fine. And this is a great opportunity and a liberation point and just a time for... Okay. Yeah, good for her.
I mean, I didn't have much else to say.
Good for her. Good for her.
Yeah. I'm for it.
All right, moving right along. So this one, it's something. And I know you've probably heard about this or read about this, but it was like we have to talk about this. So after months of protests and investigations, the city of Louisville. I know.
Oh God! I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Louisville is going to pay a $12 million settlement to the family of Breonna Taylor. And in that is also the reform police practices. So this $12 million settlement is the largest in the city and the state's history in regards to a lawsuit settlement. During a press conference, the state's attorney general stated, I cannot begin to imagine Mrs. Palmer's pain, Miss Palmer being Breonna Taylor's mother, and I am deeply, deeply sorry for Breonna's death. Palmer went on to state, we must not lose focus on what the real job is, and with that being said, it's time to move forward with the criminal charges because she deserves that and much more. So that was from Breonna Taylor's mother. So the question is this enough? Is this a step in the right direction? And our time starts now. No.
Because, like, so you're willing to spend all this money, which it doesn't bring her back, first of all. And like, it does not, like, this is not justice.
It's not justice.
Because the people who, this is like just them trying to shut people up. Like, that's what it seems like to me. They're like, we're not going to actually take any action, but we're going to throw some money at the situation so y'all stop talking about it.
Exactly.
Which is some bullshit.
And what's sad, though, is had people stopped talking about it, they would not have paid the settlement.
Absolutely.
That's what is so wild about the criminal justice. I will say that this is a prime example, though, of social media actually working. Like, yes. Because, like, ever since the general public, like, I know we knew about Breonna Taylor. I remember talking about Breonna Taylor before George Floyd, honestly. Like, being like, hey, like, this thing happened, and people were like, oh, crazy, you know? And then George Floyd happened, and then Breonna Taylor's case came out. But my point to all of this is ever since then, social media, you couldn't miss her name. Celebrities, publications, everyday civilians were not allowing her name to get lost in the noise. And to me, it served as such a prime example of what can happen when you don't take your foot off the pedal. Like, this is where we, like, is this justice in all of its sense? Absolutely not. But this is certainly,
it's a step.
It's a step.
I don't even want to call it a step, but it is a reaction to.
Yes, thank you. That's a good one. It's a reaction.
What's been going on.
It's a reaction,
which is better than what we've been getting.
Nothing, which is
like
nothing.
Pretty much exactly. Yeah. So still not enough.
It's not. But I also don't understand how. So a lawsuit settlement is, you know, they quote unquote settle this lawsuit for a wrongful death, but nobody is charged for said wrongful death.
Yeah.
Make that make sense for me, please.
I cannot, because it just doesn't.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. And that's why, like, even though this has happened, even though they have decided to, like, try to pay out this family, we need to continue to demand justice for her, because, like,
we can't let this serve as a distraction.
This is not, like, we just need to get it clear that this is not justice.
Thank you.
That's not what justice means.
Nope.
the definition, I don't know the exact definition of the word,
Yeah.
but I know that justice does not mean throwing money at people to get
No.
them to shut the fuck up. That's
No.
not what it is.
No.
So we have to continue, as great as that's gonna, I don't want to say great, but like that, the money will help the family to some extent, yes. That being said, justice for Breonna Taylor will, like, actually putting these people in jail, putting the cops who murdered her in jail will actually have more of an impact on the system than them just paying people out, because they have the money to do that. That's why we've been out here talking about defund the police, because they have the money to do that. They're ready for all these people to make all these mistakes so that they can pay them out and tell them to shut the fuck up. And then, and everybody still gets their paychecks.
So $12 million settlement, which is going to this family, which rightfully so. But you're telling me that there was $12 million sitting? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know it's taxpayers' money.
Exactly.
But there was so when we talk about defunding the police, we're saying that settlement money actually could have been going to greater systems that are in place, that this doesn't happen. This doesn't happen to begin with.
Because why do y'all have so much money just sitting around waiting to use to shut people up, instead of actually putting like actual cops having consequences for their actions? So know your cops are trash. That's why you have all this money to put towards settlements, huh?
Exactly.
Like,
and then on to that point as well, it's like there is something about how you'd spoken about, don't get lost in the noise, that just because they paid money to shut people up, essentially. I think what's really vital about this is the accountability piece. Is at this point still nobody has been held accountable for this action. So, and furthermore, this thing where they talked about part of the $12 million settlement is also they're going to reform the police practices. We don't know what that looks like or what that means. That is just a buzzword that they placed in the article for people to just, as you just said, shut up and stop talking about it, as to feel as if justice is served. It has not been served because we don't know what that reform system looks like, because they just think everything we've been talking about, okay, it's taken care of. It's not taken care of until we put the people. I gotta keep talking. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Until we put the people that have done, until the crime has been. The justice system actually holds the people that did the crime accountable. And the reason that I say that too is we need to hold those accountable so that it literally stops. Because if other police see like, oh, this is what can happen if I do this, let me not do this then, because that doesn't look like a nice time being in jail and stuff.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And that's the thing. Like that's what will stop. And they love to go and make examples out of people and out of Black men, and giving them these ridiculous length of time in jail for like minor crimes.
Yep.
But then in the same breath,
why is it taking so long?
They refuse to make an example out of these cops that they have now basically admitted that they did something wrong, because like. They paid out they basically admitted that, something went wrong in that situation, but we're not going to make an example out of these cops, and we're not going to make an example out of any cops. Why? Because we have all this taxpayer money that we have saved in the corner for settlements, because we have our cops back.
That's it.
Because blue blood or whatever the hell.
That's just it.
Like,
yeah.
It's disgusting. Because I'm like, y'all...
Because in any other case, this would not be taken. It would not take this long for justice to be served. In any other civil case, this would not be the matter at hand.
It would not be like this.
Yes. Anyway, we'll keep your name on our mouths, Breonna Taylor, like we really, really will. I know we don't plan on stopping talking about it anytime soon. Justice has not been served, just so we're aware. Like as a collective, anybody listening, like please keep donating, please keep saying her name, please keep ensuring that Louisville, that they actually are held accountable for what happened, and the most literally a wrongful death, literally. So let's just make sure that, we make an example out of them and ensure that this stops happening. So,
and real quick, I just wanted to add that I feel like a lot of times things like this will happen, and then we there's not like a lot of follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
So like even like something I have thought about many times is what's going on with like Ahmaud Arbery and
I know.
that like the people that murdered him, like what's going on with them?
Exactly.
Are they in jail? Are they and it's like for whatever reason it's like once there is some kind of like, what do they call it when they're like, yeah, they've been charged with something or whatever. I don't know the terminology because but once we get to that point, it's kind of like it falls off the map, and I'm like, I would like to know
the follow-up.
And I think, where are they now? Because in normal cases, people, when they're waiting for trial, they would be waiting in jail. Like, did they post bail? How much was the bail? Like, what? I want to know these details, because I feel like a lot of times things just kind of get swept under the rug, and then we don't really hear about it until afterwards. And they're like, oh, well, they didn't get convicted. And we're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I think oftentimes the justice system, especially in cases like this, they wait for the public to forget and they wait until the next one. So, but we're not going to do that anymore, y'all. We're not going to do that no more.
And if anyone knows where to find that information, like anywhere there's like a source where we can follow up with that stuff, let us know, please.
Let
and
us
thank
know.
you.
Absolutely. We will take that with open arms. 1000%. Honey, yes, but we, as I said, Breonna Taylor, your family, you, in our thoughts and our prayers. So let's take one last break, and we'll be right back with Speak on That.
All right.
And we are back.
And queer and black.
And it's time for Speak on That.
Beep, 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 beep.
I don't know why every time I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of that. Like, it's just
right?
so dumb. Like,
my! You know what? Listen, we can be proud if we want to.
You're right. No, it's the little victories. It's the little things. It's like, we done did that. So it is time for Speak on That, where we come at you guys with something off the cuff that we just kind of want to speak on. It could be anything related to life or pop culture or anything and everything in between. So do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? How you feeling?
You go first.
I go first? Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I have two, but one of them's very quick. One of them is very, very quickly.
Oh, take your time. It's not like I got anywhere to be.
Okay, my first Speak on That. I'm actually going to dedicate this one. I'm going to dedicate this Speak on That to my dear friend Brittany Coomber, as well as Daniel and Jerry, who are my Big Brother watching crew. Okay. So I'm going to speak on Big Brother.
Okay.
I need you to say
Speak on that.
There we go. Sorry. You're like, what?
Sorry, I was trying to... I was like, I don't know anything about this Big Brother.
And I know you don't, which is why this is going to be quick. I'm just going to go. This is going to be so quick.
But yeah, go ahead.
This season has been a joke. It's been a joke. It's been a year. We've all had a year, and it's been like something to look forward to as Big Brother. They have an all-star season this year where they brought back some of the most notable players from the past 22 or 21 seasons, I guess. And it has been trash. I understand that Big Brother is meant to be like a microcosm of society, and like the thing is, like, society clearly is not working because what they've been doing to minorities in that house is so transparent, and I can't believe that production has not stepped in. Like, it has just been like like
explain. I'd like to know more.
Okay, so there are 3.5 Black people in the house, and they are constant. And I legitimately mean like 3-4 Blacks and then one half Black.
Yeah, I know.
They're legitimately constantly put on the block for elimination, and it's just frustrating because I'm like, but also like, what do you expect when? So there was 16 people that entered the house. 4 people would be 25%. and even we talked about this before, not even in America, 13% of the population makes up Black people. So that's even like nice, just generous that 25% of the people make up the House. But then it's just it's weird because they can only speak or engage with one another. So I think what's sad as I watch it, I'm just like we just keep seeing the same old thing, and it's very boring to watch. But it's like picking out these minorities just seems predictable, I guess, and it's like it's not making for an exciting watch. It's very because watch the TV show and love it. Like this is such a boring season. Although don't get me wrong, this week we had a redemption week where Davon, she came through and she put something into play.
So cute.
She is cute, but she made a game move that actually might revamp the game, I guess. You know what I mean? So I stopped watching for like 2 weeks because I would actually legitimately get upset. Like my blood pressure was just like, whoo, I can't do this. But now I'm gonna step back into it a little bit because I just want to speak on Big Brother. That was that. Let me leave that alone. Let me put that aside. My next speak on that is going to be it's a little bit more sentimental, but I'm man, I put this thing on Instagram yesterday or the day before, I think yesterday, about friendship, and I just want to speak to how people responded to it. Like I got this inundation of messages from people that was
I love this already.
Oh man, it was so touching because I felt like people. I'm gonna maybe let me read what the thread was, and then I'll give a little bit of context around it, I guess. So Mia Mingus tweeted this thing that she ended up putting on Instagram. It's very long, so I might be reading very fast just so we don't lose track of time. But she talks about friendship, and this is what she states. I wish we embraced falling in friendship love and the magic of friendship love in general. It really is such a magnificent, kindred, soul-shifting experience that can manifest in so many wonderfully different ways, and it truly deserves its own genre of art, movies, TV, writing, and music. I wish we had more vocabulary to talk about our friendships. I wish we didn't relegate our friendships to the binary of either love, partner, or friend. It's so limiting and does not do justice to the depth and complexity of friendships and love we feel for and without friends. My friends have saved my life. They have been there for me in some of my most darkest and joyful times. They have romanced me and I them. They are not layovers between partners and lovers. They are not side dishes to the main dish. Friendship breakups can bring you to your knees and lay you out in bone-cold misery. They are a particular kind of gut-wrenching heartbreak that you go through, often without the kind of support or understanding or commiseration that other breakups get. I want more art, books, and series and songs about friendships. I want more conversations and spaces for us to be able to talk about our friendships. I want more language, nuance, and exploration because I love my friends deeply and I would not be here without them. I just fell in love. Oh man, I loved it so much. And I want to speak to, like, I was so shocked by the feedback. Like, again, like it wasn't even me that wrote it, but everybody was like, oh my God, this is so true. Or, oh my God, this is amazing. And it really just, I'm so thankful for friendship and for friends. I'm just so like, I just feel so blessed and so lucky. And I want to really just shower on, I'm obviously not going to name names, but you know who you are. Like, I just love my people. And I want to speak on us for a second here too, because we've been lucky enough to spend the last 2 weekends together.
Yeah.
And
this past,
it was very nice. And, you know, the first weekend was nice because it was well, I should say it was us. And then we had some people come over and stuff. And then this past weekend, sorry, the first weekend was that, and then this past weekend with Victor and Sylvain was amazing because we, like, I legitimately had this moment.
Sylvain.
Sylvain.
Yeah. I like that. Victor, friend to the show, amazing person, love him to death and back. But I had this moment where I was sitting back and we're at the table and, you know, where the wine was pouring, we're all talking, we're all laughing. But I it was weird because it was such a quiet moment for me personally, where I looked outwards and I just saw these people that I love just like laughing and connecting. And like, that is such, oh my goodness. Like, I could cry thinking about it, to be honest with you. Like, I just really was just like, yo, like, this is so cool. Like, this is so cool that like, that these lives have intertwined and connected, and we're here and we're loving on each other and we're supporting one another. And it's just the most magnificent thing to just love your friends. It's just so cool. It's just, oh my goodness, I love it so much. I love it so much. I just love it so much. I love it. 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 And that's all I'm gonna say, because I'm gonna get emotional, but that's all I gotta say. That's my speak.
I love that. I love that speak. And it's weird because I was gonna do not the same thing, but a similar thing. Which, like, I mean, I just don't want to. Because I don't want to talk about it. But at the same time, it's like
we got to talk about it.
I know, but do we have to talk about, like, in front of all these people?
We have to talk about all these people.
Okay. So, gross. Okay. I wanted to speak on feelings.
Oh
no! Shut the wow.
Speak on that.
No, I changed my mind.
No way. No. We're speaking on that. We are speaking on that.
Oh God. Okay. So we all know that I don't like to I don't want to say express, but like show a lot of like emotions. And I'm this way. I mean, and like, this is the thing, is that because I know I've been called out about this on the last 2 episodes, okay?
Twice.
With Victor and with Kenny. And then I went and spent the weekend with Victor and with Kenny. So it came up again a couple times, and I felt a little bit attacked, but like in the most loving way possible, I guess. Yeah. But it's like, I'm okay. Like, I'm very emotional, okay? I'm an emotional person, and I feel my emotions and my feelings very strongly. And I don't quite like that. Like, it's not my favorite part of my existence, I guess. So I don't like, it's something that most of the time I'm like, hey, just like, calm that shit down and just, there's other things to be focusing on. That being said, the last, like, I'm going to say maybe the last, like, 50, let's say this month, actually. I don't know what happened or what shifted or what planet went into what sign or whatever. Like, I don't know what God had planned, but it's like so far, this month has been very good to me. And I say that in a way that I'm like always scared to say things like that, because I'm like, I don't want to jinx it.
Of course.
But I'm trying to just be like more open to whatever God has for me. So and it's like, God has shown me that, like, she got things for me. So I'm like, okay. Let me just like calm the fuck down and like just accept things as they come. And yeah, literally, it's like, I just feel like this month came in like a blessing, and it was like the blessing that I needed. And mind you, not the whole, because they're like literally just last week I was crying at work.
Listen. No, I get
before
it.
Noon, I was in tears. And I'm like, I can't
yes.
do this. I'm so tired. But then it's like, I feel like there was a balance to this month so far. We're only halfway through, but I feel like there was some kind of balance where, like, before it was like there's a lot of negative emotions, a lot of like anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of frustration, and there'd be bits and pieces of like joy and happiness sprinkled in there somewhere. But when I look back, it's like, for the most part, a lot of it was negative emotions for like the last several months. And looking back at the last 2 weeks, I'm like, I feel like this month had more positive emotions than negative. And that's something that I very much appreciate the Lord doing for me, because I needed it.
You did.
And yeah, so I'm just hoping that it continues on that trajectory.
Yeah. And you also deserved it. You did. You did. Like you just deserved it. I like the things that, you know, sometimes you're kind of faced up against, and we've talked about this obviously privately, but like it's infuriating and it's frustrating, and so it's to see this, even to have that harmonious balance is really great, because you simply do deserve, and anybody that knows you would be like, yes, she deserves it. Like, why? You know, like, why? You know, and it's yeah, I don't know. I think there's something wonderful to be said about that, and yeah, I just hope and I pray that this, you know, this month just leads to greater and better things and opportunities, and you know, just healthier mindsets, I guess, because it's the things can get tricky, and this is all of this is to say, as you'd said, like, it's not to say that it's been rainbows and ponies or whatever, you know, like, we're still in a pandemic, and we're still, you know, dealing with
everything's
Black
still
lives, and we're
quite
still
fucked up.
Like,
but it's like I've been able to find little, like, not even little, I've been able to find big pockets of just like joy, which is something I didn't really feel like I had before, or wasn't maybe open to allowing myself to have, maybe.
Absolutely. I think that's really great, and I also think it's as I said, like, for us to spend the last 2 weekends together has, for me, it's been very just just rejuvenating, I guess, you know, like, I've just been like, oh yeah, that's what my soul needed. And I was even talking to Victor earlier this week, and I was just talking about how, like, sometimes you, like, that it's so corny to be like, oh, that's what my soul needed, but you really,
but no, for legit though,
you're like, these visits are sometimes what your soul needs. And even, like, you know, we've talked to great lengths about how, you know, checking on and who you are when you're with certain people, and I felt like, you know, sometimes you leave a situation and you just feel lower or less, or you just don't feel good, but we don't pay enough attention to, like, when you leave a situation, and it's not like, you're not even sad to say goodbye, you're just so happy it happened. Like, you're just like, home. Like, that's just like,
it's like a type of joy you can, like, hold on to.
That's it. And I
like,
remember feeling
the
that
shit week.
I felt it obviously the last 2 weekends. I felt it even on your birth. I remember thinking your birthday last year. I really felt that feeling. I'm just like, oh my goodness, that was just such a, like, but specific to, like, these past 2, you know, I've just felt very just like, you just leave feeling fulfilled in a way that you didn't even, number one, realize you needed. And and number 2, like, it's like, again, you don't even have time to miss it, because you're still kind of in it, because it's still feeding your soul as you go through the week. You know,
that's it right there. It's like, you kind of still, you have that to hold on to, and you kind of are in that. It's like it puts you in a specific headspace.
Oh man, it's so
like,
powerful. It's just,
it's
so
actually
cool.
wild. Like, honestly, I do, and that's the thing. Like, the part of the reason why I don't like to, I like to talk about emotions, but I don't like to, you know, express or feel them or whatever. But, and part of the reason is because, for the most part, for like a lot of the times, it's been negative. Like, a lot of the times I'm talking about negative emotions, I'm feeling negative emotions, I'm dealing with negative emotions. Like, that's kind of been, it's been a very overwhelmingly negative. So I'm like, you know what I'm going to do instead? Not. Because I'm like, who has the time?
Who's
like, I can't.
Yeah.
And so, it's just nice to feel like, almost like hopeful. And like, no,
my heart. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think that's so great. I think that's so great. And and I
haven't even told you all of my
Oh,
news for you.
oh, I know. Oh, I'm waiting to get off this podcast so we can talk about it. With that being said, you can find us on via social media at Speak on That Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find us on Tailor Made Radio, the amazing production company that we're so fortunate and lucky enough to partner with. And that is on all social media channels on top of YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, everything like that. All of them things.
All the things.
Tailor Made
all
Radio.
The things.
For past just us, you're going to find other Black creatives, voices, content, etc. Exactly. So give that a listen and a follow. If you're ever interested, we keep talking about amplifying Black voices. If you want to amplify Black voices, you know where to go. That's Tailor Made Radio. Any last minute words for you, me love?
Just like find things that bring you joy and then hold on to that. And also like don't take shit from people because you don't have to do that.
Girl, you better speak on that.
Do not. You don't have to do it. So don't do it. You'll regret it. So
I do love that. And something that you know what? Let me just leave it at that. Maybe we'll save that for next week. But
okay.
I love you, Dee.
I love you, wide.
And we'll talk next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.